Alright guys, so what is going on here? Figured we'd do a little, I'm going to cover some stuff, a little bit about RC 4-wheel drive. Right there, baby. Straight axle mafia, RC 4-wheel drive. Covering some stuff in this video, in this RC Real Talk. I've been working on trying to get the scale trucks. This is my custom dually. This is the K10 with custom bruiser shackles and custom bruiser leaf springs, custom wood bed that I build up. I lost the hub for the back. We'll pick that up. Custom interior. Everything I've done was hand built basically by me on this truck. Winch front and back. You know, I built it as a mountain rescue truck. It's got the proper groundhogs on it, what it should be. Suspension's worked out real nice on this truck. She got good mean flex for a leaf spring truck. She should perch herself almost up here probably. Yeah, on the body, on the bumper of the K10. This truck's set up really well. It does real well for a dually. One of my friends, Randy, Sir Chirps a lot, helped me with setting some of this stuff up with the dually stuff. Here comes Crawler Cat. He ain't got room to get up on the table today. But what I kind of wanted to go over with this video, I watched Let It Fly Friday there with, no, you don't got room up here, Crawler Cat. You don't got room. Jerry's Old Guy Review. You don't got room up here, buddy. And he tries to come up anyways. So we got to move some stuff around here. We have been infiltrated by Crawler Cat. Oh my gosh. Don't, oh, he stepped on the K10. He's on, it holds the weight, a 20-pound cat. Okay, buddy. Yeah, I love you too, but you got to get down off the table, okay? Yeah. So, what I was saying there, anytime I break out the camera anymore and come over to this table, he's got to come over. I know, I love you too, buddy. No, because you're going to knock my tools down. You're going to knock the tools down, Crawler Cat. Yeah. So, what I wanted to dive into here on this video, talking about, I gotta keep his head pats. We gotta keep his head pats. With the RC 4-wheel drive, I've been reading a lot of stuff here, you know, online, and there's some other stuff on this RC Real Talk I want to cover. Hold on, we're gonna have to get him fed. Alright, so we're back into it. If you hear some strange noises, I am washing clothes again. But let's get back into what I was talking about, what we were trying to get into before Crawler Cat distracted us. He's still here. Alright, so we're back. Maybe third time's a charm. Just gonna have to deal with the washer making noise. I'll try to edit it out best I can. Not an adult beverage, just coffee. I guess you could consider it an adult beverage. An ode to Jer Bear. So, and that's kind of what got me rolling on this. I mean, anybody that watches the channel, everybody knows how big of a fan I am of the RC 4-wheel drive trucks. I still think they're one of the best, most affordable options that you can get out there for right off the bat. You know, I love the Boom Racing stuff. I hate their bodies. Just because I'm not a Land Rover guy or any of the British stuff or European, I just don't care for that stuff. Here in America, I'm American, and I speak Americanese and eat American cheese, according to my brother Jason. That's something he used to say. But yeah, so you know, I'm not even really a big Chevy guy. I was a big fan of the Fall Guy show, watching it when I was younger. So what we're going to dive into to start this RC Real Talk off with is like the absolute insanely ignorant stuff that I've come across online. Just comments, some guys that have the trucks that had been posted and stuff. And this will lead into another segment here. There's several things I want to cover in this Real Talk episode. You know, some of the stuff I'm probably going to say, if people actually watch, they're probably going to be pissy about it. You know, that's your fault if you get pissy about it. It's not my fault. Because here in the hobby world, the RC world, I've almost gotten to the point where I was almost to the point where just getting out of the hobby, shutting everything down, selling my stuff. Just I see social media, because this is another thing I wanted to cover. Like the social media stuff is kind of, we're more connected than we ever were, but we're more disconnected from each other than we ever have been, in my opinion. And all it takes is a little bit of just going through just simple things, just not even reading. You don't even, I mean, they're in your face, so you kind of have to see them, but just like, I don't really follow him that much. This thing's dusty. I think it's like Mike's Rc4wd or something like that. He's got some really cool stuff, and he's sponsored by Rc4wd. Boy, I'd love to see some of that love. But yeah, and I think he might be one of their team drivers, another one of them team driver stuff. But you know, he's got some beautiful trucks and stuff like that. And you know, I do come across his stuff. He had some cool stuff with the new Fall Guy that is not really the Fall Guy truck. I think people are mistaking that. I think it's like an ode build to the Fall Guy. And I'm sure a lot of people don't understand that, but I'm sure there's some kind of copyright stuff that Rc4wd probably had to tread carefully. That's why that's not like a perfect rendition of, exact replica of, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's probably a thin line that they probably had to, you know, kind of bunny hop over. And, you know, I seen that truck and I'm like, man, that thing is gorgeous. But yeah, we've run into that in the hobby world. In my opinion, I kind of think social media, man, I'm not saying it's totally bad. I'm not saying it's all negative. I'm just saying there's so much negative. People just cannot be, they act like spoiled, immature brats, especially in the scale world. And if you take offense to it, then you're probably one of those people, what I'm saying, you're probably one of those people that are that way. I found myself kind of getting pulled in that direction. You know, because if you're a scale guy, you know, it's hard to consider these other trucks as being scale when you really get into the actual scale stuff. Like these trucks and boom racing, you know, and I'm not taking anything away from any of these link trucks and stuff. They're fun. I enjoy to go out and run them and everything too, but there's just something about taking your time and going out with one of these scale trucks and slowing down and enjoying them. You know, that's why I like these so well, and we've covered that so many times before. So yeah, I'm going to read off some of the ignorant stuff that I've read. Just because, you know, even on like even Rc4wd Drive's own Facebook, I don't do Instagram crap because, like I said, I'm just totally, YouTube's the only thing I'm even looking at really even following doing when it comes to social media stuff, because it's just, you know, all the other social media stuff is just, it's all about clout, and it kind of ruins the hobby for me personally, because it just all becomes about, you know, same way in the car community. I had a friend that was really big in the car community, and he said that's why he left the car community, because it's just all clout crap. It's not really about the community anymore. It's just, you know, trying to show up, show out. It's just, you know, just hanging, you know, talking about cars and stuff like that, you know, it all about how much money I can make, you know, just Instagram crap, Facebook crap, you know, it's, social media, I'm not saying it's a totally bad thing, but, and man, that washer's about to take off like an Apache helicopter here. You can hear that thing in the background. But some stuff that was being said, you know, on some of these groups and everything. Really, most of this was I seen it under like Mike's Rc4wd, and I could tell it was kind of getting to him, because he, you know, tries to be a straight up, you know, because he's a bigger, you know, following. You know, me, I don't care. You know, my channel is minuscule. So, and I'm not afraid to give it to people. That's how I've always been in life. I'm not afraid to. If they're going to give me shit, and if they do it in my face, we're going to go out and have problems. If they do it, you know, I don't care. I'll battle back and forth with them and tell them how stupid and ignorant they are. Because that's just how I am. You know, you can take offense to that if you want, but that's just how I am in real life. You know, nice guy, but if you want to throw down, we'll throw down. That's just how I am. But, you know, and if you're ignorant and you say something ignorant, I'm going to call you out on it and call you ignorant, because that's how I am. But, you know, some of the stuff guys are complaining about, you know, on the ode to the Fall Guy truck was like wrong grill. You know, had a Chevy grill. I do believe the Fall Guy truck, I think maybe was a GMC, has the wrong fenders. Everybody cries and whines about the cut of the angle on the front end on the Chevys. That's never really been a big thing for me personally. I've never really give two shits about that. You know, they still look good enough to pass for me, and they look damn good going out and doing videos. That Rust Bucket Blazer this is still one of my favorite trucks to wheel. I love it. Works really well. I've never even had to put a 2-in-1 in here, and I hang with guys all day long when we go out scaling with just a Holmes Hobby brush motor and a 1080 in here. I've never even had to tear it back apart and put a stupid 2-in-1 in it, because everybody, you know, wants to throw the most expensive upgrades and stuff. It never needed it with that R4 transmission. It's super low. It's easy to modulate. Never had no trouble with it. But, you know, guys are saying the grill and the fenders, they're shaped wrong, they're the wrong front end blah, 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 wah, wah, wah. I guess that was Rc4wd drive put an 8 lug on it, like a 3/4 ton. I was reading on the one. I haven't investigated it that much. In my opinion, you know, that kind of, I don't know what the Fall Guy truck was supposed to be, if it was a 3/4 ton or a half-ton truck. I don't know. I really would give two craps about that. That's something that's easy to change, you know, if you want to put it back to if it's supposed to be a half-ton. You can find wheels out there, you know. Me, if I got one, I would probably change it around a little bit, just because it's not an exact replica anyhow. And that's what's great about the RC hobby, man. You know, you can build it how you want it and make it yours. You know, it don't always have to be super perfect replica. I know there's some GMC grill front ends out there that you can get, some 3D printed stuff. I believe there's a company in Canada that actually makes the actual nice chrome grills and stuff for them. You know, I haven't investigated it that far, because, you know, these were Chevys, so I kept them Chevy. But they did fix the mirrors. Now that was a big thing for me. I really didn't like the big mirrors on the Chevys. I do know on the new Chevy, they did put a smaller mirror on it. These are both Traxxas converted mirrors. That's what I put over on them, was Traxxas mirrors, and that was an easy fix for me, and they were cheap. I think it cost me like 11-12 bucks. Had the wrong paint, they said. The paint lines didn't match up with what I don't know if it was like just didn't match up with the Fall Guy. Didn't match up with how Chevy painted them. I don't know. The truck looks banging to me. You know, I'm not a stickler. I'm not even a big Chevy guy. You know, I don't really give two shits about the paint lines on them. It's a beautiful truck. It's painted well. Now, the sticker wasn't my big thing on the front. If it was, I was like, man, but it still don't look terrible. I think Jerry said something about, I think Rc4wd pulled it off, you know, whatever. I think Jerry didn't like that. But that's the thing about this hobby. You make this stuff yours. That's the beautiful thing about it. And a lot of times that gets twisted. And I think everybody tries to push their perceivance on what something should be onto the other person. And, you know, that kind of just takes away from the joy of the hobby to me a little bit. I've been pretty down. Like I said, I thought about selling everything off, because I've gotten into bikes and moto stuff, and I kind of like to have a sport quad and some other stuff. And, you know, been enjoying time with my brothers. That's what we did all day today. We got his Fat Cat, that Honda Fat Cat that I had in that video, finally running. I rode the XR some more, trying to get better on a bike, learning, and I've enjoyed that. And it was like it was a great day hanging out in the garage with my brothers turning wrenches, man. Like, I mean, that's why it kind of gave me the, boy, that washer's really singing now. It kind of gave me the gumption to just go ahead and film this video, because I was about that close to just closing the channel off, selling everything off, you know, because the supports went way down. And I should have expected that, because, you know, I just tell people what I think and my opinion of it, and I've had so many people take offense to it, and I don't know what to tell them. That's just how I am in real life, you know. I have my view and my take, and I'm not going to change my opinion because if somebody else disagrees with it and don't like what I say, you know. But unfortunately, you get a lot of that. YouTube didn't used to be as bad, but I've noticed it's gotten pretty bad. Not quite as bad as your, you know, other social media platforms. But, had to get a drink of coffee here. Good old cheap Folgers. I've even had some people that I consider to be kind of friends with me a little bit get kind of pissy. And, you know, I don't know what to tell them. It is what it is. But some more stuff people were, you know, I had a bunch of comments. Rc4wd job just failed miserably. I'm devastated. It's not an exact perfect rendition replica. Like I said, I don't understand why we can't just be, actually, number one, I know everybody's tired of seeing Chevys and Toyotas. They're popular, man. Jeeps are the same way. But, oh, not another Jeep, not another Jeep. Well, Buttercup, suck it up. I don't know what to tell you. You know, when you're talking off-road world, Chevy, Jeep, Ford, not so much anymore, in my opinion. You just don't see that stuff very often. Yeah, it'd be nice. If that new instead of that Fall Guy truck, if it was a new Ford, I'd have been all over that like stink on shit. Just because, you know, I'd love to have a Ford that's actual hard body. So, you know, but it says not a true long bed. It's not a true long bed. Ooh, it's not a true long bed. Oh my gosh, man. Still a nice truck. Everybody evidently is a master builder, fabricator that's better than anything else. That they must just be the golden boy of the scale world. As many crying and whining I've seen. My good heavens above. Wow. The negativity. You could cut it with a knife. Just more, you know, the same thing. Those comments, and they're just like repeated and repeated and repeated. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And it wasn't even a 50-50. It was a 80% were negative comments on that new truck. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I had a friend, but it's $600. Yeah, it depends where you buy it from. I do believe A-Main has them right now for $5.89. And I think you can get a $30 coupon. So, what, $5.60 something shipped? That's a banger of a deal. And that's all I have wrote down there for that portion of it. So, the rest of it will just be me talking. I don't think people realize when you start talking true scale, and I know a lot of other YouTube channels, because they don't want to offend people, you know me, I don't give a shit. You're getting a hell of a lot of truck. You're getting a hell of a lot of scale RC truck for that $5.89, $5.90, whatever shipped, whatever you can get it for. It's under $600. Number one, I can't go down to the hobby shop, or I'm not even sure online from what last time I looked, and get a damn Lexan body high trail for that price. That doesn't have interior. I don't think they have a light kit. They might have a light kit in them. If it is, it's a basic light kit probably. Has crappy, shitty blacked out windows. Giant 4.75 monster truck tire. No, the high trail has almost 6-inch tires. Looks like a Bigfoot. Nothing against Traxxas. I don't want people to take me the wrong way, because they're a beautiful truck. I love the one I had. I lowered it and put smaller tires on it. I made it my own. But I'm talking out of the box comparison stuff. and they're super, you know, they're capable because they're more Lexan and they're more performance oriented. But still, you're paying more money for that truck. I think people don't understand that what you get with these RC 4-wheel drive true to scale trucks. And you can really go out and really get those trucks to work well if you really want to beat them up. Don't mind beating them up, scratching them up. You can get performance out of these leafers. You know, I'm not a big fan of taking the bodies and putting them on link trucks and hacking them to shit and making them look stupid. You know, I know I'm not trying to offend anybody there either. You know, that's just my take on it. I don't like that because then you take away from the scale of the truck. But if you're into more performance stuff, I totally get it. You know, I'm going to probably be doing that to my Rx4 in the future with a hard body. But my whole point is I'm talking taking something out of the box. You know, with RC 4-wheel drive, you're getting a full interior. You're getting all the scale in, doodads on that. The chrome stuff, the push guard. They have the wheels, good tires. Really nice accessories. The paint's very, very nice on those trucks. The light kit's in there. RC 4-wheel drive's really stepped up their game with the leaf springs. Their leaf springs are a lot better now. I've seen a lot of people make the Alright, so we had our card filled up because I've got a bunch of stuff in there, but what we were going with here, what I was saying, I think people they don't realize what they're getting. You're getting a true scale hard body, opening hood, opening tailgate. You're getting a lot of truck. You know, and I'm not sponsored by RC 4-wheel drive, guys. I don't get anything. Nothing. I never get any kind of anything from RC 4-wheel drive for doing any of those videos on my channel. Nothing. Not a thing. I've never even got them to spit on me. So I don't want anybody to say I've never even been able to get any of my trucks. They wouldn't even let me in the build off when I was doing the Rust Bucket Blazer at the time. They told me I didn't qualify for the build off, and I had no idea why. So RC 4-wheel drive has completely not been really friendly with me or offered me anything in any shape, way, or form. But I love their products because I just think they're the truest to scale. And they're not built that bad. No, they're not a TRX4. We've covered that in other videos, and I don't want to go down that road and get the video even longer than it needs to be. You know, they're not made for that. They will go out. I think my buddy D and I had those videos of the Marlins. Dude, that rock section we played on is fairly freaking hard. You know, I've taken some link trucks down there that are pretty performance oriented, and if you just try to take a regular Lexan scale trail truck there that's stock, it ain't making those pulls on the rocks area we were playing on. You know, unless you've got some brass and some modifications and stuff. And there's absolutely no weight added to the Marlins or anything. They're just tuned up leaf spring trucks that are still full interior scaled out and everything. So you can get performance out of these trucks if you're willing to put a little bit of effort in them and work them. And slow your ass down. And don't drive like your Mario Andretti, because that's not what they're designed for. They're made to relax, chill out, and just enjoy the day. That's what's beautiful about these trucks. You know, and I think a lot of people don't get that. But I don't want to go down any farther down that road because that's a totally separate video. But what I'm saying is I had that friend, I'll slide the rust bucket over so we have a little more room. So I had that friend and he was like, but it's almost $600. Yes, but even used high trails and stuff are selling for like $350, $450, $500 in really nice clean shape. You're getting a hell of a lot of RC for what you're buying that, really. And honestly, at all the companies, with the way they've raised the prices and stuff like that, $589, I think, shipped, free shipping on A-Main. That's a pretty damn good hell of a buy, in my opinion. I wasn't really in the market to buy another truck because I've been slowing way down on RC stuff. And there's another thing I want to cover there, especially with the social media, because you know, I've got other things that I want to put money in. You know, Christmas is coming. I've got a build that I need to buy parts for, because we're going to be doing a Performance H Jeep truck build on some probably Yoda axles, which I'm thinking about putting Boom Racing axles under it and doing links, because I want performance out of it, but keep a hard body, and I won't have to cut it up with that. But anyways, that's totally different. I don't want to get too sidetracked. You know, Jerry kind of hit it a little bit about some of the big, which he was talking about RC every day and didn't like the decal on the hood, but these big, that's why I don't like, but I like these big influencers, man. People really take at the word, like their word is gold. Like it's a stamped, sealed, nobody else can be right. Nobody else can have their own opinion. Nobody else can like something else. It's set in stone because they say. And what I found out a lot of, that isn't the case. You know, I would have missed out on a really cool, you can't see it, it's up here, the Michigan. You know, I got that biased about myself in the hobby, to where I really like this scale. This is my scale for my scale stuff. You know, an FMS come along and they come out with the Michigan, and I was like, I'm gonna snap one up, because I'm a Jeep guy, and I used to own several YJs. I've sold all that off now, just because I'm done Jeep stuff. Just getting out of the Jeep stuff completely, and I'll probably never go back. Because it's just totally just way too expensive off-roading with that stuff now. So, and I wanted to put the money in other stuff. But where was I going with that? And I got, the Michigan. So FMS come out with that Michigan, you know, and I had some, oh no, bro, it's like huge, it's too big, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. It says 10 scale, but it's really 6, blah, 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 blah. And I bought into all that, and I'm like, man, it is. It's too big. You know, and it doesn't look right if you take it out and you're, you know, if you're just going out with friends, who gives a shit? You know, go out and run the Michigan with whatever else anybody else is running. Yeah, it's going to look out of proportions because it's not, you know, a 10th scale truck. It's bigger. But, you know, if you're just going out and having fun, who cares? You know, no, I can't run it in videos with this stuff because, you know, it's going to look stupid. It'll look like Godzilla and, you know, a normal sized person, because it's not really to scale. But, you know, I kind of, and then later on I was like, man, I want to get one of those Michigans. I like Jeeps, and I love that freaking Michigan. You know, a lot of those videos I do of it don't get a lot of views, but I do enjoy going out and running that Michigan because it's a fun freaking truck to go out and blast around with. It's held up pretty good. I haven't really broken that much on it. You know, I sat down, did the input shaft for the transmission upgrade, set it all up, put good tires on it. They're super scale. Everything opens. Everything's detailed. They're hard to beat when you start talking about scale, but no, they're not 10th scale. You know, it's the same way with the FMS Willies. You know, they're super great. You know, Sir Chirps a lot. Randy's his name. And he's got like metal fab work he does too for anybody that's looking for bumpers and roll cages and stuff like that. You need to hit him up because he makes some damn nice stuff. He's making me bumpers and stuff for my Michigan now. And I should have him on the channel. I'm moving very slow because I don't have a lot of time, and I can only do what I can do for everybody. But I'm trying to help put him out there. I think maybe he was working with some of the bigger channels. Hopefully they help him out and push him out there and get him some business, because he's down a little bit with work stuff and everything, some injuries and everything, and he's very good fabber. He's very good fabricating. So if anybody's looking for that stuff, for the FMS stuff, he does it pretty much for all the FMS hard body stuff. Makes freaking fantastic. I mean, bumpers you can bash into stuff, but back onto the, you know, a lot of people overlook that stuff because, well, that's not into my scale wheelhouse. Well, the Michigan wasn't mine either. But gosh darn, man, I missed out on a really cool truck, and I've really enjoyed going out doing filming with that over, you know, the last couple years. and it's held up pretty well. I can't complain about it. You know, it has never broken and not made it out of the woods and the trail. And sometimes I'll go out and it takes me 2 or 3 hours of filming to make you guys a 15-20 minute video. You know, because I cut a lot and edit a lot because you have to. It's just going to look ridiculously and stupid, and nobody's going to care to watch it if I don't. That's why I take the time. You know, it takes a lot of time for me to go out and do those videos. You just don't go out there and just go straight to filming. You set shit up. You have to try to make sure you're getting good camera angles. And, you know, it's a lot of work to go out and shoot them films. A lot of the older videos, if you go back and watch them, it's work. Sometimes I spend 5, 6, 7 hours out there trying to cut footage for those scale trail videos. You know, and if you go out there and you just try to blow through it, it'll look like shit. And I don't want that on my channel. So that's why you haven't seen a whole lot of that, because I don't have the time to do it. But back into what we're, you know, talking about with the crybabying and whining around about the new Rc4wd drive K10. You know, I don't understand why people just can't be like, oh, you know, it's not for me. Why do we have to go on social media and cry and bitch and whine about it? You know, and try to put all that negativity out there into the world. That's why I hate social media, because it's so easy for people to put it out there. You know, and I'm trying not to be negative about it, but it's hard to see a positive in all that negativity for me personally. That's just how I am. You know, it's that clout shit when it comes to all these big channels, and this guy kisses this guy's ass, this guy kisses that guy's ass. You know, I never wanted to go that route. My whole reason for doing a channel was, you know, I seen the horse shit stuff that people put up with on Facebook. You know, people asking simple questions, people wanting, you know, help. But I've come to realize, and that's why I was kind of wanting to turn the channel off, that it seems to be the majority of almost anybody that watches YouTube anymore. I'm not saying everybody, but a big majority. It's kind of just become this big RC pushers. You got to buy this because this big YouTuber has it and he says it's the best. They're like pushers, man. And people get swayed by that stuff, and you know, that's why I don't try to like, well, you should go, and that's why my channel will never get any kind of support, because you know, I'm not going to go out there, well, this is the best and greatest of anything, you should go buy one. Because that's not how I am. You know, I try to show you guys, you know, what the cool stuff you can do with them, the cool builds you can do with them. You know, let your creativity take over. That's why I did that Joker build I know it didn't get much views or love, but I did that Charisma Joker build because it's, you know, it's different. Nobody hardly's done a whole lot with those trucks. Did a lot of custom work with that truck, but because that's the stuff I like, the different stuff. It's funny because most of the stuff that all these big tubers always start, you know, taking big dumps all over, I usually end up liking it. You know, I got so much hate from the Trailfinder 3 stuff. Still my favorite truck out of everything that I own. I even like it better than the Marlin. You know, I just, those big tubers, you know, they shit on it immediately, so everybody just, oh, he don't like it, and I love that guy, and he's the greatest in the world because he has 150,000 subs.
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I just wish people would think on their own. I just noticed that big following now in YouTube. It's not really people watching to learn. You know, a lot of it is people just wanting to see fancy flash. You know, like the raccoon likes to dig the tinfoil out of the trash can. That's why I'm just not a big social media guy that much anymore. That's what everybody wants to see. It's all they care to watch, you know. And then, you know, they let these guys push them buy, and that's not how I work, you know. I just like to try to show, you know, ideas of stuff and builds, and hopefully it helps people out. But, you know, unfortunately, I've noticed it's not what people want to watch. That's why I've kind of cut filming a bunch of the stuff, you know, doing the scale garage and stuff like that. I just come to realize that a lot of people don't like to watch that stuff. You know, I noticed some people still watch the RC Real Talks and stuff like that. So I figured we'd film this one here, and just all the negativity surrounding that new RC 4-wheel drive truck just blew me away, man. I seen that thing and I was just so excited. You know, yeah, it's another Chevy, but, you know, man, they did such a good job, man. Rc4wd drive did a really, and I'm not trying to kiss Rc4wd drive's ass here, you know, and try to get something, because, you know, I'm not. I'm not going to lie, I did try to work with them in the past to try to help the Trail Finder 3 platform, and they just, you know, Spartan kicked me down in the hole, but, you know, because I'm a nobody, and, you know, they want the big dogs that have all the views and all the, you know, they're going to push their stuff. You know, by far, I'd still recommend an Rc4 drive truck. You know, I mean, my buddy D he's got several. You know, my other friend Chris, he's got one. He loves it. You know, we've had very little trouble with them. A few bearing issues. We run them in the water all the time. They haven't really held up that bad. Some of our trucks have been beat pretty hard. So, yeah, I don't know. You know, we're not going out and doing absolutely ridiculously stupidity stuff with them. You know, because they're not made for that. But, you know, I don't want to get down into that. But, yeah, I just thought, you know, that's one subject here we want to cover. We've covered the social media crap I wanted to talk about. And I know people are going to take offense to this. Look, I'm not trying to be an asshole here or anything. You know, and I'm not trying to piss people off. It just, I see this stuff, and I'm like, I think people do it, and they don't even realize they're doing it. You know, I've lost a lot of people on my channel because I just tell the truth how I see it. And I've noticed that when you do that, you do not get support. Unfortunately, just trying to be honest about stuff, you know, and a lot of people frown upon that for some reason. I don't understand. Like Jerry said, you know, I've left a lot of the bigger channels. You know, RC every day. I love his stuff and everything. You know, I still go back. The dude's got one of the greatest scale, detail stuff. In my opinion, he's way better than SBG. Nothing against SBG. I like watching Scale Builders Guild sometimes. But man, RC every day, if you're into like the rust shit and the beat up stuff that looks like garbage, you know, if you're into that stuff and you like it, man, he can really give you good tips and stuff like that. He can really help you out with that stuff, man. You know, his older stuff especially was so good. I'm not big into the rat rod stuff. You know, a lot of these channels turn into just, like I said, they want to sell you. And I get it. I had somebody comment, I'm not stupid. I understand how marketing works. You know, I've taken some business classes even. I'm just saying, when you have so many of them big tubers and it's all about pushing product, the whole hobby shouldn't be surrounded about just pushing product, man. And that's all majority of I see on YouTube or YouTubers trying to just profit. You know, I've never started this channel to try to make any kind of money. I am monetized. You know, YouTube chooses to run the ads. I had people complaining about ad shit. There's nothing I can do. I'm not gonna turn the ads off on my channel, because then that messes with my monetization and that messes with my channel. And I've had YouTube up in my colon several times anyways over copyright stuff on my channel. So that's why I'm super careful about music and stuff. And a lot of guys that have channels, they don't understand how that stuff works. So they don't got to worry about it because they're not monetized, so they don't get in a bunch of trouble and shit on their channel. So they can kind of just do what they want to do. But that will hurt you if you are working to try to get monetized. In the long run, it can come back and bite you in your ass if you're trying to grow your channel, because YouTube will throttle you back. Facts, I know that, because I've had that discussion. They throttled my channel back big time. I actually got a notification they were throttling my channel back. They turned my channel off for 2 weeks, blocked everything that was on it. That's why I try to be super careful when I'm doing videos. You got to be really careful. And, you know, if only thing I can tell you out there, if you're just purely doing it for fun, don't monetize even if you can. That's my best advice I can give anybody. You know, I monetized because I had the hopes of eventually maybe trying to work with some manufacturers, and about a couple years into that, I realized my channel was never going to take off, and it was never going to be, you know, one of the big tubers. And I kind of just went into enjoying doing what I like to do, especially with the scale videos and stuff, and going out videoing, you know, stuff with friends. And I just totally gave up on that on my channel completely. And I've never had aspirations ever after that. But once you do monetization and they offer it to you and you don't take monetization, they will start cutting back for facts if you read through all the stuff. They will throttle you back. They will not give you any kind of recognition. They will push you on the back burner because they want you. They want a channel, especially when you break over that mark. They want you to take that monetization so they can make money. Because if they're and they're going to run those ads. As far as I know, they ran ads on my channel before I was monetized because they didn't have the thing where you could click to turn off ads. Now I think you can click to turn the ads off if you're not monetized. I think if you're monetized, I don't think they give you an option. I could be wrong, but I'm not real sure there. I just wanted to kind of cover that because Jerry talked about that in that one video. I could do RC maybe, or do URC. I think I watched some of his stuff. You know, he was talking about how he doesn't have any ads on his channel. Then he had to manually turn them off. And I'd say he's telling you the truth, old Jer Bear, because I don't think I've looked into it. I can't turn them off on my channel. So, you know, that's where I'm at here with the channel. I just, you know, I like filming and everything. Like I said, the views and all that, you know, have just plummeted. I never had real fantastic anyways. There for a short bit I did. You know, like I said, I gave up on trying getting the channel to grow. We are at almost 3,000 subs, and I'm super appreciative for every little thing I can get, you know, but I still don't put up with assholes and elbows. That's just me in life. I don't do that well. That's just how I am. You know, I'll tell you, I don't care. That's just the kind of person I am. You know, not trying to be abrasive. It's just I can't change how I am and who I am, and I'm not going to. But, you know, so I've lost a lot from that because I'm just an honest person, and I'm going to tell you how I feel whether you like it or not. You know, people say stuff I get offended, or I don't really get offended by it. I say, I don't agree with you, and I move on. You know, I try to. Sometimes it gets pushed, and I get pissed off. That's how the world works. That's how we're programmed. But, yeah, that's where we're at here, guys. I think the video is pretty long already. If you watch it, drop a comment. I think I'm going to release I may not release the 3D print haul yet. We were talking about doing a giveaway on some 3D stuff. I've got to talk to my RC brother, Fred, that sent me the stuff. So I'll be releasing a 3D printed unboxing part episode. I know not many people are interested into that, but, you know, he really did me a solid, and he made me a lot of cool stuff, and he's a good dude, and he's a good friend. Him and I talk all the time regularly. Another one of those guys that's kind of misunderstood about stuff and got a lot of shit given to him when he had his YouTube channel. And, you know, I appreciate him as a friend. He has a lot of, you know, health problems and stuff like that. And I always make sure that he understands that I appreciate him, you know, and that's why, you know, and he sent me the stuff, and he didn't charge me any shipping. He didn't expect me to pay for anything. And that really means a lot to me. You know, another one that sent me some 3D stuff was George Cutting, and he's over in the UK. Yeah, he sent me some stuff that'll be in that video for my next build. And that stuff means more to me than any company sending me anything. Same way with Jerry. I got that blazer from Jerry. You know, that made me feel like more appreciated and liked in the community. It made me feel like it was a real community. And I've kind of felt a little bit lately that our little community has kind of dropped off a lot because, you know, well, everybody has busy lives. You know, I don't converse with a lot of people anymore. Everybody seems like they're in a pissy mood when you do converse with them. So, you know, I don't go out of my way anymore to get a hold of a lot of people. I talk to my buddy Russell. He's a buddy. We talk about, you know, bikes and stuff anyways, not just RC stuff. But, you know, I don't know what's going on. I've just noticed it's kind of been a big, I don't know. It's kind of been depressing. But, yeah, from the RC Dungeon, that's our RC Real Talk episode. I'm sorry it was so long. If you watch, you watch. If you don't, you don't. If you're still hanging in here, and I really do appreciate, guys, everybody that's still hanging here on the channel and taking the time to watch. And just still sucking up the RC Dungeon content. You know, I'm still going to try to keep pushing, doing some RC stuff because I still love RC stuff. You know, I was talking to my buddy D about selling my stuff off, getting rid of everything. I'm going to have to get those shocks oiled. It's been sitting over here for so long there, they kind of broke loose. But, yeah, I just, like I said, anybody that still watches and subscribes, anybody that actually sits down and listens, that means more to me than some company sending me crap to show you guys, hey, look what I got for free, yelling at the camera. You gotta buy this. It's the greatest thing in the world. RC Sham, wow. You know, Billy Mays here. That's what I hear with all these big tubers that get all this crap handed to them hand over fist and don't appreciate a damn thing of it either. You can tell that they don't really give a shit about it. You know, that's why I cut them dudes out. I don't watch that anymore. You know, and not trying to offend anybody again. Like I said, that's just how I feel. You know, I can't do that RC salesman shit. I can't do it. You know, if somebody sent me a product, even RC4wd drive, it'd be 100% honest review. If it's a pile of shit, I'm going to tell you it's a pile of shit. I don't even care if they paid me. You're still going to get the truth of it because that's the kind of person I am. So, with that, that's our RC Real Talk. Gonna get this one posted up. I got another one in the can for doing the 3D unboxing from my buddy. I've got to give him a call. Actually, as soon as I turn this off, I'm going to be giving him a call. I got to give him a ding-a-ling and ding-a-ling-a-ring. And I don't want to give him no ding-a-ling. But, yeah, from the RC Dungeon, I'll hopefully get this stuff posted up. Hopefully everybody watches, man. Thanks for hanging in with us. We're still beating it in. If you watch, man, I really appreciate that more than anything. That means the world to me. And my RC brothers out there, I don't think Chris watches anymore. D watches. I know he always takes the time to comment. My buddy Russ, thank you, brother, for hanging in there, still watching. He even watches the moto stuff. Kevin Breaker, man, he's always right there too. He's one of my channels. He always drops comments. Mine's IRC. I've got a lot of guys' channels to catch up on because I've been doing so much, you know, of, you know, the moto stuff, the bike stuff, the quad stuff. You know, I've just been enjoying that a lot more when I do have the free time. So, yeah, we've been doing that. I'm going to have some update videos of the Fat Cat. I know a lot of people don't want to watch that. We got it running today. We got parts coming in. So, I'm going to be doing some part stuff with that with my brother. He wants to do some filming on the channel. I'm going to try to I've tried to, like the intros, I've separated so if somebody sees Moto come up, they don't got to watch. But, I enjoy that stuff, man. And some of it will be pretty funny because my brothers and I are pretty funny together. I think you'll get a good laugh. From the RC Dungeon, thanks everybody. Much love, peace, love y'all. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, wealthy. And keep the RC out there click-a-clacking. Don't let the negativity get to you because it started to get to me. And it made me pissed off. And I stayed pissed off. And I stayed depressed. And I wanted to wring those dudes' necks. From the RC Dungeon, peace.